And who is Yurugu? How would you describe Yurugu? Incomplete being, right? That the agent of disorder in the world can only be destructive, can create. It really has a problem with harmony. Okay? Got to disrupt that. Okay, that's Yurugu. Jacob Carruthers. Talk to us about African deep thought. African deep thought. And that's what we're looking at here. And he emphasized the African worldview. So does Kobe Cambone, Wade Nobles. These are people who I'm encouraging you to go and get and read. Check out the joke in what has been called by others the two-cradle theory. That wasn't his term. Has talked about that contrast of worldviews, and what he does is to say that they come from particular environments. That's his analysis. While I was doing this work, I was reading about the Dogon, because I was reading all over the place. And I was reading this, I saw this, and I was reading in different parts of the Pale Fox and different books on the Dogon. And I said, wait a second. And after reading this or thinking about it and the implications of it, I was like, I have to use the term Yurugu as, as the title of the book, but not only title of the book, it becomes a metaphor for the nature of European cultural thought and behavior. I'll be dealing with the diagrams in the front of the book, and they actually follow through the book. I'm doing all this because people have, people complain. It's not a reader-friendly book. When I pick it up, I'm like, oh gosh, I don't want to have to deal with this. How did this happen? But if we break this down together, it'll make it much easier. And I recommend that people don't read it alone. That you read it in groups. With me? Why did I use African terms? Because we are in a process of reclaiming our minds. We are in a process of defining reality in our terms. One of the key mechanisms or tools is a better word, that we use in thought is language. And a lot of harm has been done to us, to think victoriously in colonialist languages. Whoa. Because that's the purpose. You want that thing that you could control. They get stuck right there at what we would call jiriso, which in African thought is the simplest level. It doesn't have depth. And we get mesmerized by all of this stuff that you got to do, that these they put you through hoops and so forth to get your degree. And you come out thinking, well, I got a PhD. And all you're doing is becoming proficient at their stuff. But in terms of Dogon concept, African concept, you haven't gotten very far. And that results in Africans and other majority people defining ourselves as inferior objects of European domination. And we are trained to accept the system of global white supremacy as truth. And I ask the question, where does this system get its power from? Give me an answer. Gets it from us. We give it power. Because of how we've been taught and what's been done to our minds and what we have accepted in our own image of ourselves, we give the system power. If we deny that truth, the system would have no power. It would collapse and would not work. And so what happens is that we, in ignorance of who we really are, enter into the academy. Remember, I said in ignorance of who we are, not feeling valued, not feeling worthy, we enter into the because we want validation. Who are we getting validation from? We're getting validation from those who would oppress us and kill us and destroy us in their terms. How can that validate us? It can't validate the Africanness of us.
Mama.
We can only do that. And so we are taught in the academy to deny spirit. You see, in self-denial. The purpose of the academy is to justify European domination. And so it produces objectified, controlled reality, which is the basis for the so-called ideal state, which is Plato's Republic. And what comes out of that are Africans who are afraid of African ritual,
Come on, sir. Yes.
deny African paradigms, who support and perpetuate European domination. What comes out of that, if you do well,
Mama.
is that you become a colon pal and you become Congolese survivor. That is the epitome of success in this system. I'm not saying don't go to school. I'm saying that we have got to be looking at questioning an entire system, constructing our own schools, and committing ourselves to African world revolution, which is what Dr. John Henry talked about. We have the resources. There's no reason why we don't have our own university. There's no reason. The key is in the memory. That's why they focused on the memory. They had to erase our memory because they had to fill up our heads with these stories, this politicized mythology about their superiority and our inferiority. They had to make us the objects that they needed to control. What we have to do is to reactivate the memory cells. We have to be involved in a process that we call memory of self. Because the memory is there. As you begin studying your culture and who you are and your ancestors, you'll find that these things will be very familiar. Very familiar because they exist inside of us. And in the process of that remembering is the process of Sankofa.